now this Congress just unveiling their $1.7 trillion. Yes, another $1 trillion spending bill, ladies and gentlemen. This is supposedly to keep the government funded through next September. Now, they have to pass the package by midnight on Friday. It's a 4,100-page package. You think they've read it? This in order to avoid a partial government shutdown. Katie Pavlich joining me now. Katie, nobody's read this thing. In 2 days, they're going to pass another $1 trillion spending bill, 4,100 pages that nobody has read. Isn't that the height of irresponsibility?
Yeah, this $1.7 trillion spending plan, which, as you rightly point out, people are not going to be able to read. It's 4,000 pages, is an abomination. Once again, Washington, D.C. and the politicians who are inside of it want to go home. They're now up against this deadline of Christmas while also being held hostage because they want to fund the government. And yet the American people are the ones who are going to pay the ultimate price. There are now a number of Republicans in the House who have written a letter to Republicans in the Senate saying we're going to start holding senators accountable for doing this to the American people, to the voters that sent them to Washington in the first place, and pointing out that, look, they weren't elected to continue inflationary spending, which is exactly what this is. They weren't elected to continue the spending, which leads to the Federal Reserve having to raise interest rates to try and tamp down this inflationary spending, which is being caused by the federal government. And so, the spending continues. They never learn their lesson. And also, for Republicans strategically and politically, this budget or this omnibus plan would also kneecap them when it comes to their new Congress, which starts on January 3rd, and gives them very little movement when it comes to enacting their agenda, which they were just elected to implement.
Well, it's a question. How do you enact an agenda when you have all this infighting between Senate Republicans and House Republicans within the House? I mean, we still don't know whether McCarthy's going to be the speaker, right?
Well, regardless of different perspectives on who is good for leadership and what should be done in the new Congress and who should lead the House as Speaker, the bottom line is that conservatives and Republicans for years have run on this idea that they are fiscally conservative. And the split within the party right now comes down to whether that is even true anymore. There are a number of Republicans, or a handful, I should say, who want to stop this bill. 41 Republicans in the Senate could stop it, and yet you're only seeing about 5 senators coming out and saying that they will vote against it up against this hard deadline, which again changes nothing in Washington and makes inflation worse for all the Americans out there who are getting ready to spend Christmas with their families.
All right, next one, Katie, I want to talk about Twitter, if I can. Senator Liz Warren is sending a warning to Tesla shareholders about Elon Musk. In a letter to Tesla chair Robin Denholm, Warren writes, quote, Mr. Musk's acquisition created unavoidable conflicts of interest. This use of Tesla employees raises obvious questions about whether Mr. Musk is appropriating resources from a publicly traded firm, Tesla, to benefit his own private company, Twitter. So, Katie, this comes after Janet Yellen says that CFIUS is looking at Twitter. They look at whether there's foreign influence in companies. I'm just wondering, are Democrats really trying to take Twitter away from Elon Musk through regulations and other means?
Well, they've been trying to take it away from him from the very moment that he said that he may purchase it, even before the deal was done. This has nothing to do with Elizabeth Warren, feigning outrage over her allegations that he is misusing resources from one company to another. This is about the Democrats losing their monopoly on the social media company Twitter, which they used during the 2020 election with the FBI to suppress information which could have changed the outcome of the election. It's very similar to what they've been trying to do to conservative talk radio for 3 decades with the Fairness Doctrine. That's what this is about. And once again, Elizabeth Warren, who has no experience in the private sector, who is an academic and a bureaucrat who continues to try and regulate businesses to her liking and to her more socialist government-run agenda, that's what this is about. It's not about actually holding Elon Musk accountable. And at the end of the day, they're continuing to go after Elon Musk is quite interesting because they're all in on this electric vehicle push, and yet they continue to isolate him and to punish him despite the fact that he is the largest electric vehicle producer in the world. I mean, they certainly have a number of conflicting issues here, and apparently have a monopoly over free speech on Twitter trumps the electric vehicle agenda for them.
Well, and again, they want to use regulations as a political cudgel to beat people they don't like, but they let FTX go in under the radar. You have Gary Gensler, the SEC chairman, making nice with SBF before the whole thing collapsed. So they're not doing what they should be doing, instead doing the political bidding. Katie Pavlich, great to see you, Katie. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Christmas.
Great to see
Appreciate
you.
you coming in.